an Indian bureaucracy in your afterlife, you stop laughing for a long time and carry on to your life. But structuring it in that way, in the 7 moons, giving it this very clear, sort of arc, was that something that came in early, or did that happen as you were working on the material?
So again now, people look at the subtext and think, okay, I want to write a definitive story about the Sri Lankan war, but that wasn't really, I'm a genre fan, I wanted to write a murder mystery, and this idea of a ghost solving their own murder from beyond the grave, that had appealed to me. And with any thriller murder mystery, you need the ticking clock. And this came from Sri Lankan folklore, but I've seen this folklore around South Asia, I've seen it in Singapore, the idea that the spirit hovers around for 7 days. So we have, the death occurs and 7 days later we have a blessing or an almsgiving, and the idea is they hover around for 7 days and then they go off to they get their visa stamped. If they miss their bus, they don't have their documents, 3 months, but after 3 months, 90 days, we have another blessing. So then, but being Sri Lankans, they could miss the second bus, then I don't know what happens. Like 7 to 90, I think the next one is not for like 50 years. So that's why a lot of ghosts end up being stranded. But so that's why, okay, so he has 7 days to solve his murder, and then the 7 moons, and you have Himan, and also with the murder mystery, you need to have suspects, and the fact that, and I think that's where him being a photographer, someone who worked for the army, for the Tigers, for the JVP, for the foreign interest, allowed me to explore that, but that wasn't the purpose. It came from that detective convention of the ticking clock and having suspects. But yeah, that's where it came from, but also from Sri Lankan folklore.
So this idea of this, the character himself, the photographer, is very well sort of realized in the sense, did you interview many of these people who have been jobbing photographers? How did you get to that?
The start for it was Richard D'Souza, who quite a well-known name in Sri Lanka, maybe heard of here as well. Richard D'Souza. So there are 3 big casualties of those 80s. Richard D'Souza was again, there's mystery. None of these crimes were solved, so and there's movies about him, plays about him. He was left-leaning, public, Colombo, middle-class personality who got allegedly picked up by the state, and his body was found next to a lake. And this sent shivers through most of polite and not so polite Colombo society, because it was suddenly like, they've come after one of us, they can come after anyone. Because usually when a journalist or activist gets killed, it's a single or Tamil journalist in the outstation whose names have been forgotten. But so Richard D'Souza was quite notorious, and Rajini Thirunagam, so Dr. Rani, who appears, that was a Tamil professor in Jaffna who was murdered, a Tamil moderate who was murdered by the Tigers, and Daya Pathirana, that's the other one, less well known, the first Marxist casualty. So I thought, what about these 3 characters in the afterlife in 1989? What would they be talking about? But they evolved. The book took so long that Richard D'Souza, and I thought, either I write biography or I fictionalize. So I think this idea of the photographer and the idea of there are not many photographs of that period, and, which is strange because now there's photographs of everything. Every recent uprising, if someone writes about that, there'll be no shortage of photographs. But
the revolution is now on television.
It's on your device, but then there weren't that many photographs, and that's why these conflicts fade from memory. So this idea of this photographer with this box of photographs that could end all wars, that was the second breakthrough. So I did interview, mainly I researched a lot of the Bang Bang Club, these war photographers. I did interview a couple who were in exile at that time. I won't mention their names, so I think it's safe now. That's a new law. You heard we kicked out the 2 main parties, and now we have a socialist paradise in Sri Lanka until the next day, repayment, but we're okay now. But yeah, so a few guys in exile research, but a lot of that was actually me just geeking out on how hard it was to develop a photograph those days. Like, we take for granted, everyone's a photographer now, you've got a decent phone. Yeah, so this guy and the chemicals and, the dark room and all of that, so I kind of got into all of that. And the fact that he was a black and white photographer So yeah, I did some research, and yeah, again, I think that's why you finish projects when you have characters who are different. Because I can barely take a selfie, but it fascinated me these guys who could do that. I can barely bowl a ball that doesn't bounce twice, but I'm fascinated by guys who can do miraculous things. So that's where the geeking out on photography happened. But also, there are a lot of I think the one parallel that remained between Richard D'Souza and Marley was the fact that they were both closeted gay men. And again, the intention was not to write an LGBTQ novel. I didn't think I had the right to do that, but of course, I was writing in 2013, where this conversation you could, like, perhaps if I start writing now, I question, okay, can I go into this territory? But it just seemed that was the character in the book. When the book starts speaking to you, you can't really tell it what it wants to be. So I think a lot of research was talking to, I mean, I've got many friends who are gay, but they are grinder generation, so they're useless. You know, they talk about, but what it was like in the late 80s. This is before, right? This is the Rock Hudson, the HIV period, and also even in liberal Colombo, to be the closeted gay was the only person you could be. To be out of the closet was unthinkable then. So I think that was the research that I really had to do, and also once I'd written it, give it to those guys and say, is this making sense? Is this offensive? Is it tone deaf and all of that? So I think that was the photography and the sexuality was where I really had to do the work.
So was it a stretch to think visually for your character? Because he's a visual thinker, he's a photographer.
Yeah, so I worked in advertising. I was a copywriter, and I married my art director. And the arguments was when I tried to think visual, I go, yeah, we need to do something. And yeah, back in the day, you had to actually find the picture and put it up there. So these were the cause of our marital tension at the beginning. And we don't work together anymore. The wedding card was our last project. But so you kind of. I did that. I didn't just come up with a headline, so thinking visually how the commercial will look, how the storyboard will look, which I think is a good skill, even for writers, because now you can outsource that thing. And
except that when you present that idea to the art director, you get that sneer of contempt. Just like stop thinking like you can't.
Yes.
But,
maybe that's changed now.
Yeah.
So, but I think with all of them, I mean, I kept a Pinterest. I don't know if that's still a thing, but I had a who knows? But I had a scrapbook of ghosts of that, and I visited a lot of haunted houses around Colombo and Sri Lanka. I spent a year going to haunted house. Absolutely fun trips, useless research because the book stayed there. But I think I took photographs, and that's very much part of the process as well. My room does look like someone investigating a serial killer. Like it's got pictures and strings and lines.
Or it looks like a serial killer.
Or serial killer themselves.
So there is a short story that is set in an advertising agency, which begins with a series of pictures put up on a notice board of penises. Was this in any way inspired by real life events?
Pics before. I was thinking.
I didn't even think dick pics was a thing before there was like the mobile camera made it possible.
It was similar in late 1990s or early 2000s. I don't know if that specific thing was, we had some, when I go back to that period, I just think it was dial-up internet. And so yeah, the creative department perverts were watching porn on dial-up internet, and it took a while for a picture to come down, and then they print it out and put it on, Yes. So I'm trying to remember the motivation. The dick pics weren't the motivation for that story, but I think I just wanted to capture that period where pre-TV radio and you had to paste up things and that period. But yeah, no, it wasn't. I do remember a lot of rude pictures being put up there, but not in the same way.
I was just for a moment distracted by the thought of how our friend who was doing the signing was doing dick pics.
Yes.
I didn't sign up for this. Yeah. Would you like to read one of the short pieces?
Oh, sure, we have some time. So this one, it's, I guess the lesser loved third book. But
It's short, I mean,
yeah, I should. I guess the others we celebrated. This one, it's an eclectic collection. They are very, very short stories, normal sized and some in between. I'm going to read this one because I remember, I think a judge of a big prize in the Liberation Prize, which I think I was longlisted, but I didn't get. She came and told me, she said, those stories are very interesting, very quirky, blah, 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 but so negative, so cynical. We want to portray a better, positive Sri Lanka, and you've got to take all the notes, and this was actually this note at something, so I thought, okay, I'm going to try writing a happy story, a story which, a positive story. So this actually has a solution to all the world's problems. Not me to oversell it, but it's called Hug. When he enters the room, his son doesn't hug him. His son is 4 and has cars to play with and doesn't want a hug and does not see how much his father needs one. Instead of reaching out to his wife or his daughter, who might have welcomed his sweaty embrace, he kicks the puppy, who runs in pain and knocks over the dinner. The mother shouts at the daughter for letting the mutt in the house. The daughter sits in the doghouse and dreams of one day leaving home. At school, during netball practice, the daughter picks on the girl with pigtails for her crime of boasting about a recent holiday to Singapore. The others join in and there's some pushing and elbowing and catcalls of Singapore Burwa each time the pigtailed girl drops the ball. The next day, the pigtailed girl's father, a provincial councillor, comes in to complain to the teacher. Unaware of the man's connections, the teacher remarks that young girls must fight their own battles. The enraged councillor instructs his thug driver to make the teacher kneel in the playground to the hoots of the school kids. The driver pulls off the teacher's hijab and cackles as she sobs. The teacher's husband, his brothers and some friends from the mosque smash the councillor's car and stomp on the driver. The next day, organized mobs set fire to Muslim shops. Buddhist monks urinate in mosques, and emails about halal poisoning spread via phones. Politicians impose curfew and condemn no one. Months later, wealthy young men in beards blow up churches, and not a soul can explain why. This is an ancient tale of horseshoe nails and escalations, and could be dismissed as horseshit if it weren't all true. What if the boy hugged his dad, or the dad hugged his daughter, or smooched his wife instead? What if the daughter defended the pigtailed girl from the bullies and was rewarded with hugs, a new best friend, and an invite to the Provincial Export Union's next overseas delegation trip? And what if any person in this chain of pain decided to embrace rather than punch? Could we prevent riots and terror by replacing knee-jerk kicks with strategic hugs? If each and every one of us give an extra hug per day to someone who needs it, can we stamp out bullies and bigots and bombers? This is the reason why hippies get laughed at. Fine, come back when you've exhausted all other avenues. Try more religion in schools, or less video games, or more police, or less taxes. We'll make a lentil soup while we wait. Hugs are the one energy source with an infinite supply. So why not put them to work? We can get the geeks to develop an app. For some reason, you don't laugh at them anymore. We can count hugs like we do steps and calories. It could spread via the same phones that tell us to delete ourselves. Could more hugs cure all ills? Could we at least try it out and see?
On your feet now, and give the person next to you a hug. Hey, I'm talking to you. Get up and talk to me. Rather than afraid.
Yes.
But anyway, it moved and opened out very beautifully into that almost a kind of a lovely manifesto for the power of the hub. So we forgive that central
So I can write that
I was
story.
thinking, like, what have we got into here? I was, but the idea of the short stories, are they like amuse-bouche? Do they clear your head when you're writing a big novel? When you turn to the story?